Welcome to Newsmax TV. Joining us is Newsmax contributor and terrorism analyst Dr. Walid Phares, a senior fellow and the director of the Future Terrorism Project at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Washington, D.C. He is also the author of several books, of which the most recent is The Confrontation: Winning the War Against Future Jihad. Welcome back to Newsmax TV, Dr. Phares.
Thank you very much for having me.
President Obama and his administration continue taking heat for their response to the airline bomb attack. I want to start with President Obama's speech. Obama's been criticized for not talking tough enough. Dr. Phares, is this president weak in his response to the attack and on terrorism in general?
Well, it is a new direction, as the administration has announced since the beginning of this year, 2009, which is closing. But statistics are telling us that between 2001 and 2008, U.S. government agencies were able to stop 1 or 2 cases of terrorism against the United States a year. Since the beginning of 2009, it was 1 a month. And now with the latest attempt to bring down an airliner in Detroit, it's number 13. So certainly numbers speaks for themselves. And it is important that the administration, as the president has said, needs to do a review, a significant, serious review of its strategies against Al-Qaeda, but also against the other homegrown jihadists.
Obama seems to be focusing on the security aspect of what happened, and there's this sense he's really not acknowledging this as a symptom of a much larger problem. Can we really fight terrorism with a president who shies away from confronting the issue head on?
No. Basically, the administration and the president have been focusing on these so-called security breaches, meaning how can an individual jihadist traveling from Nigeria to Yemen to Europe, taking a plane, having explosives on his body, and was about to bring down an airliner had it been the courage of civilians, not the actual defense forces of the United States. And one of them is a citizen of Holland. Had it not been the courage of these individuals, the act of terror would have been the second to 9/11 since 2001. So yes, security breaches are important, but the question here is, Al-Qaeda is monitoring us. They are analyzing every measure we develop, and with few months or years, they are able to create a countermeasure, as we saw right now. So the real problem is much bigger than that. It is how and who is radicalizing these individuals.
The administration is ordering a review of our security systems. What is the most important area to review? And in your opinion, what went wrong?
What went wrong was, at a very high altitude, the fact that the administration early on this year has declared that there is no such thing as war on terror, or war with the global jihadists, or confrontation with an international network of jihadists, outside Al-Qaeda. Now, these were the premises where the error was made. We are in confrontation with jihadists who could emerge in Yemen, link up with Nigeria, have activities in London or in France, and have connections, as we saw, with the radical Imam al-Awlaki in Yemen, with individuals who have penetrated our systems, as was the case, I think, of the Fort Hood massacre. So there is a question of general direction that needs to be corrected. And the second issue is, of course, the fact of radicalization. The administration needs to understand, and I'm sure many experts within the administration would concur with that if you do not go to the level of who is indoctrinating these young men and potentially women to become, as I coined them in my pieces, human missiles. We are dealing with human missiles. So if you don't go back to the roots of who is indoctrinating worldwide and inside the United States, we're going to see a lot of individuals who are going to try to bring down airliners, hit ships, buildings, or operate, as Hassan did, on a U.S. military base.
Now, there's a report out of Yemen that some 300 more are plotting to strike the United States. What's your reaction to that?
It does not surprise me that there are dozens and perhaps hundreds of jihadists who are potential suicide bomber, potential urban fighters who are going to be deployed against us around the world, against U.S. and allied targets, and of course within the United States. Back in 2006, I have made the assessment that we may meet about, or we may have about 200 of these potential jihadists in a few years. And here we are in 2010, and indeed numbers may be at that level. So the problem now is how to deal with this new expanding situation where we have many more, and they are not on the lists of suspects, the red list of 5,000. They are probably on lists that we have not detected yet.
Al-Qaeda's Yemen branch has claimed responsibility for the airline attack. In your opinion, does Al-Qaeda remain as powerful now as it did before wars in Afghanistan and Iraq?
Al-Qaeda, as a landmass, as an expansion on the ground, is not as strong as it was when it controlled the whole regime in Afghanistan, along with the Taliban. But Al-Qaeda has mutated, some would say has morphed. So instead of having one geographical location, it's like cancer. They are all over the body. They are in Waziristan in Pakistan, still fighting with the Taliban in Afghanistan. They still have cells in Iraq, and we see what they do every day. They are in India. They have metastasized to Yemen, and from Yemen they are attacking targets inside the Arabian Peninsula. And as we saw right now, probably the biggest concern that national security analysts will have is Africa, not just in Somalia, but across the Sahel. And the Sahel means 5, 6 huge countries, Mali, Mauritania, and of course Nigeria, and we just got the last specimen out of Nigeria.
Has Yemen been on our radar at all? And these other countries that you named, I mean, have we known that Al-Qaeda has been developing in these nations, and should we begin shifting our attention to some of these other nations?
I don't think we can shift an attention. We will have to widen our attention. We cannot let go of any of the battlefields that we are engaged in. What we need to do is look at it from a horizontal perspective, meaning what is it that the other side, in this case the jihadist networks, what is it that they are developing so that they can recruit and expand in numbers? As I said, some of the recruiters are operating out of liberal democracies, not just the Sahel or Somalia or parts of Pakistan. They are operating out of London and Paris and, of course, as we realized here, in many of our cities. Some of their members have penetrated law enforcement, national security, got clearances. So the problem now is to detect the mothership. And when I say the mothership, meaning the pool of individuals who are spreading the ideology and recruiting from that pool of indoctrinated individuals.
Dr. Phares, we're learning that the airline and Fort Hood attacks are indeed related, albeit remotely. Abdul Muttalib is said to have been connected to Imam al-Awlaki in Yemen, and we know that Major Hassan of Fort Hood is also connected to al-Awlaki. What are the chances that what's happened is connected?
I am among those who say that the war room that we are confronting oversees a lot of these activities and connects a lot of these activities, or at least tries to do so. Now, we should not be fooled. If we see a lone wolf, it doesn't mean that the pack of wolves does not exist somewhere. This is their weapon. Their best strategic weapon is to let us believe that every time we are attacked by one individual, the case of Fort Hood was one individual, the case of the airliner is another individual, or a number of few individuals, they want us to believe that these individuals on their own are waging their own extremist warfare against the United States, while in reality they are unleashing them by indoctrination, in this case as we saw, exchange of email, and of course more than that. So now Al-Qaeda has found a way to use individuals who have no real long history of being on any of our lists and unleashing them against us. The only connection that we can detect and we can be proactive is to realize the doctrine, the ideology. If they use the same narrative among themselves, it means that they are up for jihadi business. Unfortunately, we have a lack of that, and we need to restore that lexicon.
All right, Dr. Walid Phares, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.
Sarah Palin's new book, Going Rogue in American Life, will be released on November 17th. You can be among the first to get your copy. Check out our incredible free offer for Sarah's new book. Just go to Newsmax.com and click on the top banner for this great offer. Act today.